Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Carmelita Podcast. This is where you learn to live like a champion. On to this episode, I have got two champions. You know, it's better to do it in twos. I have got Dave and Guy, and both of them are business partners, but they're also lawyers, attorneys, with a twist. And I will explain to you a little bit more as to who they are. Now, Dave Zumpano, I'm hoping he's Italian because I would love to hear some of it as well. He is the founder of the Estate Planning Law Center, and he has done so much and grown his business literally from zero to where he's at now, teaching other people how to estate planning with a twist, and he'll explain a little bit more. The thing in which I liked is what he talked about, this Medicaid practice system, which I want to know more about. How did he come up with this process and all of that? And this new program called Guider is a digital way of bringing his message to the world. And his partner, Mr. Guy, who is here in the UK, one of us, as we would say, he has had serious success in businesses over the last couple of years, being recognized by Deloitte, of all people, as well. And he's actually helped so many companies expand and grow. And he himself has developed companies and is a non-executive director in some companies as well. Today, they're going to talk to us a lot more about this whole program, this Guider program, what they do that's different from other lawyers, and why they want, apparently, I heard it here, his moonshoot is to take over the world. So, welcome to the Carmelita Podcast, both Dave Zumpano and Guy Remond.
Thank you.
Hey, Camilla. I mean, wow, what a welcome. Thank you.
Well,
I love it.
Since you want to take over the world, can we start there? Why do you want to take over the world? When I say that, this moonshoot to be the largest law firm in the world that does not employ lawyers. What does that mean? Who wants to jump in?
Go ahead, Guy.
Right. Okay. Well, just to frame it slightly, Dave and I have actually quite different skill sets. Dave is a hotshot lawyer in the estate planning world, well known, and I'm sure he'll talk to you a little bit about the kind of business that he's kind of built. Dave, I'm a tech guy, so I built a software company, and I understand the tech world. So when we got together, and it's a very quick story, if you don't mind, Camilla.
Absolutely. We want to hear it.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a COVID story, to be honest. So we actually met at an entrepreneurial program that we've been doing for probably about 15 years each, but we've never really spoken to each other over that period. We've not kind of ignored each other. We've just never been introduced and never spoke to each other. Yes. So anyway, a British guy called Ash Fora, who introduced us in October 2019, and said, look, you guys need to have a chat because I'm a tech guy. Dave's an entrepreneurial lawyer. Dave had an idea for this tech platform to support local law firms in the US. So Ash introduced us, we got chatting, and it got to around about February, March in 2020. And we decided that we were going to build this amazing platform that helps small to medium-sized law firms digitize and democratize their services, and bring a whole new audience and a whole new set of people, and make sort of certain legal services available to them. Really great value and good service, really simple to use, and they don't even have to go into the law firm. They can do it on their mobile phone.
So Dave, let me ask the question, and Guy, thank you so much for sharing that. Why was this on your heart so much to help small and medium-sized companies?
Well, Carmelita, I've been in the practice of law for 30 years, and early out, I went on my own, and I really didn't have any guidance. Law school teaches you to be a lawyer, but not how to run a law firm. So amazingly, I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and 6 of the 10 kids are entrepreneurs. And when I started running the practice, it was a funny thing. I had an assistant who kind of ran everything, and her father-in-law passed away unexpectedly at 52, and she was out of the office for 2.5 weeks, and everything shut down. My revenue stopped, everything stopped. I didn't even know how to turn the computer on. So I knew something had to change, and that's when I think I was introduced to the E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yeah.
But I did something a little different, Carmelita. I didn't read it. I started living it. I mean, I read it, and then the very next day, I started building systems. Well, I did that I still am doing it.
Yes.
25 years later, still building systems, but all related to the practice of law in the estate planning, asset protection, and what we call benefits eligibility, Medicaid, for long-term care, and even VA aid and attendance benefits. So I started doing that locally and became so successful, quite honestly, that nationally I got picked up. And about over 22 years ago, I started training nationally on how to do these things. Well, over time, being the entrepreneur, I evolved with new systems, new processes, new ways of doing things. And the industry kept demanding more and more. So what happened was in the early, around 2000, I created the first IPUG protection trust, which was a very unique trust, still unique today, but it's a whole new genre of trust now that are in America. Very unique for asset protection. By 2008, I created the first law practice system that went on your computer at the time. And by 2013, we were the first cloud-based. And so when I met Guy, interesting story, Guy in the UK, Dave in the US, we meet in Toronto. So, and like Guy said, we literally spoke for 15 or 20 minutes over lunch. We said, well, let's chat. And within 3 or 4 chats, we decided, let's start this thing. Guy's a humble guy. He has built a tremendous tech company that he has sold off. And I'm like, can we do this? My idea was this. The big platforms, LegalZoom, WillAndTrust.com, all these big are really crushing the law firms because they're not law firms. And so I thought it was really important that lawyers stay competitive with technology and with consumer demand. And that's when I met Guy, and Guy said, I think we can do this. And that's we actually did it over COVID, me in the US, him in the UK. We actually met a second time in March of 22. From the fall of 19 to March of 22, we built this company and the entire platform over Zoom. We built a team, and it's been a very successful rollout. We wrote a book and released that in October of last year called The Digitization of Law, How to Transform Technology Disruptions into Abounding Opportunities. And so it's really about making sure that lawyers stay relevant in the lives of the consumer because lawyers are different. Those self-help websites, they're okay in certain situations, but we believe it's always better to have a lawyer. So we digitized, we being Guy, building the platform, me providing the content that goes on that. We provided a digital platform that makes now law firms able to do what LegalZoom and WillAndTrust.com do, but at your local level.
Do you know, I tell you something, you guys did, this was a stroke of genius. Just before the pandemic, when everything had to go online. I mean, this was a stroke of genius, literally. This is what dreams are made of. When people think of an idea, and then society and everything has sort of come together to make this thing a huge success. How did you, obviously everybody had to go online, and for yourself, a Guy, this is your domain.
It is.
That's your domain. How did you find it? Was it very receptive to people at that point? Because people weren't going in the office, they couldn't see people face to face. Was it more receptive, you would say, to this idea? Or were they sort of like, what the heck are you trying to sell now? What was it like?
So I think the world was moving that way anyway. So people were becoming more and more, their expectations have been changing for the last 10 years. So more and more people are moving online. They expect to consume certain services online. Those expectations are increasing all the time. They expect good value. They expect 24/7 service and so on. So it's going that way anyway. What the pandemic did for, I think, probably most online services, it accelerated that adoption.
Of course.
And then people were forced over the pandemic to move online. Grandparents to speak to the kids and the grandkids moved onto Zoom, onto FaceTime, onto Google Meet, and they kind of got used to doing it. So it definitely helped. Listen, the pandemic was dreadful for a lot of people, but there are some good things that have come out of it, and the way that the human, mankind has kind of reacted to it and dealt with it, and these changes actually are here to stay. The whole working from home movement, where it's moving towards a hybrid office now.
I was going to ask you that question because a lot of people are saying that a lot of companies are telling people it's going to be more of a hybrid sort of situation. People don't necessarily want to go back to what they did before, albeit some companies are sort of pushing people that way. With your business, with your industry, this whole thing about this moonshoot being the largest law firm that does not employ lawyers, where do you see this going as a result of this hybrid working? Do you see it accelerating, or what changes do you see possibly you may have to adopt yourself?
Well, listen, so the tech team, which is based in the UK, is a fully remote team. We've got young Harry down in London. We've got Mark up in the Lake District, and we've got Andy sort of Liverpool based. Yeah. So we're already remote, and the tech world's kind of used to remote anyway, because we're always the first to adopt technology because we're geeks and that's what we do. We love that kind of stuff. Yeah. But and Dave's team, some of them are remote over in the States, some of them are based in New Hartford in an office, some of them are based in Miami. So there's a real mix. The company, we have complete flexibility as to how we operate because of the systems we have in place. And you've seen that, all over the world. People are changing and people are getting used to that kind of way of working.
I want to ask a question to yourself, Dave. I see it as Zumpano, so I'm hoping this is Italian because I just love it.
Yeah.
So, Dave, with estate planning, this is something in which I absolutely love. It's my heart. I studied law. It's one area that I didn't study when I studied law, but I absolutely was interested in it a lot more. What has changed, or what have you changed so that people understand why estate planning is needed even when they don't even have an estate?
Yeah, so the critical thing about estate planning is it's so much more than your money. Everybody thinks it's about your money. So I always say it's about two things. It's about you and your stuff, right? So meaning what people, the two parts of estate planning, the more important part, believe it or not, are the baseline documents the guider provides right now, and they're going into more advanced documents all the time. But the will, healthcare proxy, and power of attorney. So if we look at the healthcare proxy and power of attorney, the healthcare proxy is a document that authorizes someone else to make healthcare decisions for you if you can't. The power of attorney is a legal document that authorizes someone to do legal and financial things on your behalf if you can't. This is critical. That's got nothing to do with dying and nothing to do with what happens to your money. That's just got to do with maintaining your quality of life, if it's a health issue, or maintaining your basic operational needs, like paying your bills if something happens. So that's what we call the fundamentals. Then the will says, okay, when I do pass, who gets the stuff that I have, right? So when I talk about people, estate planning is about getting what you have to whom you want, when you want, the way that you want, but making sure it's there for you in the way you want for as long as you need. At the
same time.
Right? And so, so that's really what it's about. It's about giving access. And what the Guider platform does, Carmelita, is it gives access to anyone, all disenfranchised, the disassociated, anyone that has access to a computer. But the power of this is it gives you access to real lawyers. And the funny part is it's at a significant discount.
Let me ask you a question. Who is the target market for this program? Is it Joe Blog? Is it everybody and anybody? Who is the target market?
Yeah, it's everyone and anyone. Who tend to anchor to it are millennials, the younger, what I would say, the 20 to 50-year-olds who, don't think they get enough money to go sit in a lawyer's office, but want to make sure they have those basic things in place, and to know they can do it through a local lawyer. What's nice is, while it's done through a local lawyer, you never have to see, touch, or feel that local lawyer. You can do it all through the digital platform. Or the beautiful part is he is local, so you can go knock on the door if you need to. And that's one of the options, is they actually come in and meet with them to do the signing of the doc to make sure it's done properly. So it's really a blending of the new modern world with the traditional world. And I'll tell you, lawyers struggle with it, Carmelita. Lawyers, the legal industry is the last industry to adopt, new things, right? Because they're very traditional.
Seriously, darling, I'm buying property all the time, and like there's 2 properties that I'm buying, one or 2 properties that I'm buying. It's an estate property right now, and I'm buying a lot of properties. And the biggest concern is like we were just in the process of going through the sale. We were just to the end of the sale, and the gentleman died. So now it has to go back through probate. So we're waiting for another 2 months because they didn't have this, that in place. So I mean, it happens all the time for us. So I understand. I love this because that mitigates all that risk and all that problem. Guy, is this available here in the UK as much as it's in the US, or is it coming to the UK, or how is it coming?
So it's not available in the UK, and at the moment there are no plans specifically to bring it to the UK. I think the next likely area that will hit will be Canada.
Right.
The situation in the UK is actually slightly different to the US, which means that we can differentiate ourselves more in the US, quite frankly. In the UK, we've become just another platform because there's less regulation in the US. For a document to be legal, it has to be signed off by a lawyer. In the UK, that's not the case. So the US is a more appropriate market for us, as is Canada. So there will be places that we're going to roll this out. And just going to a point, actually, we didn't quite answer. You were asking about our vision to become the largest law firm in the world. Accessible law firm in the world.
No, the moonshoot.
the moonshot, right? Yeah. So we want to become the largest, most accessible law firm in the world that doesn't employ any lawyers. Now, if you look at Uber, what's Uber? Uber is the largest taxi firm in the world that doesn't have any cars.
Correct.
Airbnb is the largest landlord in the world that doesn't really own any properties. So it's moving to that kind of modern platform that we can demonetize, democratize, and digitize certain services like Uber have, like Airbnb have, and we're hoping to do that for some of the more basic legal services. So we want to. Yeah, it is, and we've started with the estate planning because obviously that's Dave's expertise. He's recognised in that world in particular. But we're looking at other areas to add legal services to it. So it's a genuine platform that will internationalise and will have multiple different legal services that we add to it in the coming years.
I love it. I'm excited for this. Because this people are being born every day. People are dying every day. So it's a service that people would need constantly through their lives. And I love what you said, Dave. You talked about that access to anybody, and for millennials, people between 20 and 50. That's the sort of age group who don't think about those things now. But then something does happen, and then they have to start thinking about it. How are you planning to reach those people, though? Are you planning to do seminars, webinars? Are you planning to reach them through their colleagues? How are you planning to reach them?
It's interesting. So we're doing a dual approach. The beauty of this model is because we are limiting it to lawyers only on the platform, right? We're actually marketing from the ground up. So each of the lawyer members are throughout the United States. We have them in each state. So what happens is the local lawyer markets this locally to however their other marketing is there. They just add, hey, and by the way, if you need these documents and you can't get into the office, click on this purple button on our website, the guider button, and it'll take you through, and you can do it at your leisure. And it's amazing some of the stories we've had of people, clicking on that and doing the documents. But again, it's a ground up and a top down. So Guider does national, we're beginning to do some national outreach, a lot of national trade shows, things of that nature.
Yeah.
But again, bottom up and top down. So it's a really interesting approach.
No, you've got to. I mean, are you considering doing universities? People that are coming out of universities as lawyers. Are you considering, sort of doing, some of these female groups? Because women are sort of more inclined into looking into that sort of thing. Some men will sort of leave it to one side. Are you thinking of doing more sort of like female groups as well?
Yeah, exactly. All niche groups. Interesting, Carmelita. where we're getting a lot of interest is in the financial services industry.
Yes, you will.
The financial services industry, they're saying, oh my gosh, this would be so great. Some of the largest financial industries have already, partnered up with the willandtrust.com and some of those big ones. Well, they're saying, oh my gosh, I didn't even know we had access to this through lawyers.
Yeah.
So it's really starting to catch on through the national financial services organizations. And then again, it applies to everyone and anyone who it's relevant to. On the retail side, on the consumer side, it's little pockets. You know what we find? We're having a lot of success, believe it or not, going to local fire stations, police stations, government. We give lunch and learns to government employees. It's really got a very diverse. Quick story will give you the point. We spoke at a local government. They said, this is great, come in, and we do these little 30-minute lunch and learns, and then we give them an access code to go on and do the thing. And what was interesting is in this one place we went, there was people from 18 to 70 that were employees. And it was amazing, the feedback from all of them. Everyone had a little different reason why they liked it. But the people.
So one group, I'll tell you guys as well, you need to tap into one group, is coaches, because they deal with people, especially executive coaches. They deal with people across the board, and a lot of the people that they deal with have no idea they need to have this in place. This is amazing. I absolutely love it. There's a guy, actually a financial services guy. I'll introduce you guys to him. I interviewed him on my podcast, actually about 3 or 4 of them actually. I'll introduce you guys to a few of them, because if you could get it into them, they could get it into their people, and they're all in the US as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's happening right now. They love it. The financial services folks love it, because you know what? I got to tell you, Carmelita, the story of how this was born was I built my practice by forming relationships with financial professionals. And what happened was one of the financial professionals said to me, he said, Dave, you're the entrepreneur. You got to figure a way to make this easier. It's so hard for me to get my clients to stop their busy life and come into your office. And they all need this. So I created a one-page form. If you could just give them this one-page form, we'll do all the rest. That took on a little bit. But what I realized was we really need to create a platform. And believe it or not, Guy was the 3rd attempt I made. I had tried 2 other attempts, but the 3rd time's the charm, as they say. We met literally for 15 minutes, and it was like, okay. And we brought this to life. And actually, that financial advisor is one of the biggest proponents and users of the system now, because now he actually requires his clients to go through the program online with him in his office. If they don't have a will or the basic documents, he in his office during his financial review will stop, go online to Guider, and it takes about 20 minutes, and have them do their planning right there in his office.
It's brilliant.
So
it's brilliant.
He loves it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Guy, sorry, you were going to say something. Tell us.
I don't know. What's that?
He was so intrigued with what I was saying.
Yes, he was listening attentively.
He
was listening attentively.
No, listen, I mean, we're just working towards the vision for this system, and we've got a conversation with a law firm in Canada tomorrow, actually. So if they're, and they approached us, they heard about it, and they through somebody else. The thing I was going to mention actually is that we also have a podcast that if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about the legal world. So it's not all about Guider. We interview different lawyers and different entrepreneurs, and it's about business, it's about law, and hopefully people will enjoy it. So it's called the Digitization of Law podcast. So if anyone wants to listen to it,
the Legal Community Podcast, and it's like you, Carmelita, stimulating conversation among people who are forerunners. Just a little bit one step ahead of the rest of the world that follow,
No, absolutely. I love this, and I'm sort of thinking of a lot of people I can introduce you guys to.
Hey, your wheels are turning. I can see it. They're just going.
I'm thinking of loads of people I can introduce you guys to. Honestly, and you know what? I'll introduce. Let me tell you this first. Dave. I'll introduce you to Michael Gerber, because I think he needs to understand the
Yeah.
power behind what you have done with what he has shared. I need to introduce you to Michael Gerber, because that's kudos to his teaching.
Absolutely. It's all based on that. And our training is all based on the myth. But I tell you this, I've learned one thing. You've got a business audience and we're all entrepreneurs. And to start from nothing and build multi-million-dollar law practice, people say, well, what was the key? It's a very basic understanding I have of the world. If you could simplify people's problems, solutions to people's problems, that's really what it's about.
I'm hearing Michael Gerber. I'm hearing Michael Gerber.
Yeah. The more we could simplify solutions to people's problems, the greater impact we can have. And the whole idea of being the largest law, most accessible. There's a lot of people who don't have access to this that may want it. If you have a phone, an internet connection, you have access to this. And so that's really what it's about: empowering people, simplifying access to lawyers, making sure, most important, that people have the documents they need to make sure. Look, I've been in the business 30 years. There's two tragedies that happen. One is whatever happens to the individual, and the second is what happens to the family because of the lack of planning. So someone getting in an accident or having a stroke in and of itself is tragic. But then when everything gets locked down because nobody could do the basic things.
Listen, I'm telling you, I'm a landlord. I buy property all the time. I live it.
Yeah, you do. And a lot of entrepreneurs do, and that's really what it is. It's a lot of fun. But I will say this too. It's a blast working with Guy because, Guy has been very, very successful in the technology industry. And, me and the legal, when you put those two together, right? It's just a nice combination to bring the legal industry into the 21st century.
I love it. Because everything is still signed on the dotted line, all the paperwork in the drawers. It's oh my God. I agree. I mean, I remember when I was going to sign for 8 properties we were buying sometime last year, I think it was, and we had to sit there and sign all that paperwork for all 8 properties, and have somebody witness all 8. I mean, it took us hours. I'm like, I said, Tim, there's not a simpler way to do this,
No, I know the stack of papers, the legal world, it is. And the good news with that is it's not moving much, but it is moving. Like COVID, I mean, for the first time allowed digital notarization, right?
Yes.
So you can notarize a document through a Zoom meeting or things of that nature.
Yes.
We had been pushing for that with the Bar Association for years, and the governor in the laws, because it's not the Bar Association, it's the laws weren't there. So a lot of executive orders were done during COVID to do that. And after those executive orders expired, then they had to go through the process of going through the legislature, which has been a nightmare, So it's slow moving, but we're there to help push it along. And people are jumping on to bypass the complexity.
I love it.
We're changing mindsets, Dave. The mindset shift is not to see the internet as a threat, to see it as an opportunity. Actually, if you just get over the fact that this is happening, right? So it's inevitable, and you can't slow it down. It's going to happen, and it's the entrepreneurial lawyers who get on board with this quickly, see the opportunity as opposed to try and fight it. The entrepreneurial lawyers are going to be the successful ones. The other ones are going to.
One last question, Guy. I want to stay right there with that thing. The lawyers that come on board, how are they remunerated for this? Is it that they get a percentage of the sale? How do they make their money? Because at the end of the day, it's their time. Time is money. From the digital aspect of it, how do they get paid?
So they get 75% of the sale. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's really fair.
Let me say it a different way, because they don't get 75% of the sale. They list the products on their guider page for any price they want. It's their revenue.
Right.
Remember this, they're actually working with a law firm. The people that go on Guider are not working with Guider. they're actually working with that local law firm.
Right.
Each local law firm has its own page or place in the system. They set all their own pricing. It's all the billing goes directly to them. We as Guider just get a platform fee. So we get a platform fee for based whatever people use. So there's no fee to the attorneys unless the consumers are using it. So that's the nice part about it is it's a use it, kind of thing. So as
it's a
people use it,
it's a win-win.
It's a win-win,
Yeah.
But it's 100% directed by the lawyers. The pricing is by the lawyers. All the money is the lawyers. It actually goes to their law firm, not to Guider, and then they pay Guider for our services, our platform services that we provide to them.
I like that because people want to feel as if they're being treated, by their attorney, not sort of like in their minds a third party. I'm glad I asked that question, Guy. I really wanted to understand sort of the money side behind it, how they're getting paid. Because for the average person that's listening or will share the information with someone else, they probably would want to share how this person is actually likely to be paid. At the end of the day, if it's not making money, my mantra, it's not making sense.
I love it. If it's not making money, it's not making sense.
Always listen to your mum, right?
Yeah. Let me share one other thing about what Guy said. The changing mindsets, a lot of lawyers fought us in the beginning. They're like, you're going to take all of our business away.
Wow.
We said, look, you got to understand two things. Number one is your business is already going away to non-lawyers called LegalZoom and all these other platforms. But number two is there actually gives lawyers access to consumers they never otherwise would have had access to.
Precisely.
These people utilizing the online will never go walk in a law firm traditionally, that age group. So it really gives you an access to a whole new demographic.
Which are the onliners today. That's where they are. That's where they are. That's where they're doing stuff. One last question, guys.
What's happening is we're even in my law firm, a very busy law firm, we're actually now starting to delegate our internal work to the Guider. In other words, people call us under the traditional method. We push them to Guider because it's simpler for us now too.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, simplification should involve saving money. If it isn't, then what's the point? So
for everybody, right? Right. Demonetize, democratize, digitize.
I mean, I love it. Guy, you done a good job, man. You have done a good job with this thing. You have so much.
Hey, listen, it's a great partnership. We've both put equal amounts of efforts in our individual skill set. It's an amazing collaboration.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to introduce you guys to some people. Okay, before we close off, how can people reach you? How can people get involved? How can they join the systems? Tell us.
Well, the first, you can go to guider.legal, GUIDR.legal. If you're in the US, and you could click on that, put in your zip code, and it will tell you any attorney near you. For myself, I love talking to entrepreneurs all over the world. I mean, heck, I partnered with one. And I can be reached at D Zumpano. Yes, I'm a purebred Camelita. ZUMPANOD for David Zumpano at eplawcenter.com or guider.legal. Same thing, dzumpano at guider.legal or dzumpano at eplawcenter.com. Either one will get to me. And I always love helping a fellow entrepreneur.
Indeed.
Likewise. And, Dave's given the Guider details. So my email address is, my Guider one is Remond. So that's GREMOND at guider.legal. And my personal email address, so if anyone wants to reach out for a chat about entrepreneurialism, just as Dave said, then it's Guy, GUY, Remond, REMOND at gmail.com.
Wonderful. Well, I should just make sure everybody hear this. Guys, I loved it. I mean, I loved it. This is brilliant. And I'm sort of thinking all the people that I can introduce you guys to who may use the services or who knows people who can use the services, whether they're financial, whether they're legal, whether they're entrepreneurial. I mean, there are loads of people. And I will introduce you to Michael Gerber because I want him to know the impact he's had on your life as he's had on mine. So I will
that'd be great. We'd love to have him on the podcast. Maybe we'll see if we can
tell
pull
him.
off
I'll tell him. Don't worry. I'll tell him. You got to be on the podcast. So, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been amazing. It's been brilliant. I've learned so much. I've taken so much notes, and I'm going to make sure that people do get to hear it, and we will share it as always.
Well, thank you so much. Keep up the
Amazing.
good work, Carmelita.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carmelita, really nice to speak to you. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Well, guys, look, you've heard it here from Dave and from Guy. Amazing man on a mission. Truly, his moonshot, their moonshots are to change this world, to make sure that you have access to all what you need to have access to from a legal perspective and not worrying about the jargon that you don't understand when it comes to law. And as Dave actually said, I quite like what he talked about, this access to millennials, being able to ask questions, being able to understand it from your perspective. You are in charge. It's not just about you, he said, it's about you and your stuff. Whatever that means, you need to look after you. I, as a property investor, at buying property all the time, I see this problem all the time. If you don't want to find yourself in that situation and thinking you got time, you ain't got time. Go to guider.com, do it now. Guider.legal, go to it now and at least find some information out, send some information. If you really want to hear from Dave and from Guy as well, go to Zumpano.com. We will put all the details in the chat so you can get it at eplawcenter.com as well as at guider.legal. All the information, we will put it in. If you want to reach Guy and his technical mind, Remond at guider.legal at Remond@gmail.com. We'll put it in the chat, you have it. Don't forget, he's talking about digitalization, he's talking about monetization and helping your practice succeed. Whether you're a lawyer or not, helping your brand new business succeed. Don't just do it and hear it, but get it done. This is Carmelita here from the Carmelita Podcast saying I'll see you soon. And you know, we will see you at the top. That's it, guys.